At 3 a.m., you trust a single button to save your boat as the wind skyrockets, and instead you hear a crunch that seals your fate. Modern in-mast sails promise safety and convenience, but in reality, these systems are engineered to jam when you need them most. They trade gravity for mechanisms that will fail under real pressure. The industry knows this, yet they keep selling it as luxury. Why would anyone design a mast that is easiest to use at the boat show and impossible when survival depends on it? Let's expose the engineering lie you were never supposed to discover. The cockpit is chaos. The wind rips across the deck, howling through the rigging at 40 knots, shaking every bolt and rivet in the mast. The rain slams sideways, stinging your face, soaking your hands as you fumble for the controls. The boat lurches, pitching hard, the bow buried in black water. Your world shrinks to the red glow of the instrument panel and the frantic flicker of a flashlight beam. Every surface is slick. Every movement is a fight against gravity and panic. You reach for the Furl button, the one thing they told you will save you when it matters. The label is smeared with salt. Your thumb jams it down. The electric winch starts its high-pitched whine, gears straining somewhere deep inside the mast. For a second, you believe it is working. Then the sound changes. It is not a whine anymore. It is a grinding metallic crunch, like a bone snapping under pressure. The noise echoes up the spar and into your gut. Nothing moves. The sail is stuck. Half of it is still out, bulging and thrashing like a trapped animal. The other half jammed inside a tube you cannot see, cannot reach, cannot fix. The boat heels harder. The wheel bucks in your hands. You try the button again, harder, as if force will change the outcome. The winch groans, then falls silent. The only thing louder than the wind is your own heartbeat pounding in your ears. You try to haul on the lines, but they are locked solid. The mainsail is a wall of wet cloth, snapping so violently it sounds like gunfire. You cannot let it out. You cannot pull it in. You cannot drop it. There is no backup. The mast is 30 feet above your head, the top lost in darkness. You picture the whole rig tearing free, the boom swinging like a battering ram, the spreaders folding as the forces build. You are alone, trapped in a machine that was supposed to make things safer, now holding you hostage. There is no one to call, no way to climb the mast in this storm. The only thing between you and disaster is a system that just failed exactly when you needed it most. The ocean does not care about convenience. It only cares about what works when everything else falls apart. And tonight, the promise of safety is just another lie swallowed by the wind. The broker's smile never cracks. Polo shirt crisp, sunglasses perched, he stands at the helm of a docked 50-foot cruiser, gesturing to the gleaming mast. He says, "Push this button," and the sail disappears. No ropes, no mess, no sweat. The pitch is always the same, convenience wrapped in stainless steel, safety sold by the yard. The promise is modern sailing for the modern sailor. The reality is a system that never leaves the marina until a contract is signed. Brokers lean on a single phrase, single-handed operation. You can reef the main from the cockpit. No need to go forward, just push the button. The button becomes the magic trick, the centerpiece of every demo. It is always calm, always sunny, always at the dock. The mainsail glides in and out of the mast, smooth as silk. See, no lines on deck, no wrestling with canvas. The boat does the work for you. The sales sheet lists the upgrades: electric winch, $5,000. Furling gearbox included. Maintenance is a footnote buried in the fine print. He tells you just wash it down with fresh water. It is set and forget. There is no mention of gears grinding to a halt or the mandrel seizing from salt and ultraviolet damage. No warning about what happens when that button fails at sea, when the wind is not a gentle breeze but a freight train. The language is gentle, coaxing, perfect for couples, perfect for older sailors. You will never have to leave the cockpit. The risks are never part of the tour. The system is always framed as progress, Technology making life easier, smarter. The broker points to the absence of halyards on the mast, the clean deck, the lack of clutter. Look how easy. It is presented as foolproof. But the ocean does not care about sails patter. It does not care about ease or elegance or the promise of luxury. The only thing that matters is what works when everything else fails. The broker's job ends at the dock. The engineer's job begins when the phone rings at 3 in the morning and someone's convenience has become a crisis. That is the difference between a system designed for show and a system designed to survive the sea. Inside every in-mast furling system, the real battle starts with geometry. The mandrel, a thin aluminum foil, sits at the heart of the mast, turning on bearings and waiting for the sail to feed in. Along the mast's length, there is a slot, not a wide opening, but a gap barely 2 millimeters across, just enough for the luff of the sail to squeeze through. That is the entire margin for error, 2 millimeters. Every time the sail is furled, it must roll perfectly flat, edge to edge, no slack and no wrinkles. The tolerances are so tight that even a fresh sail straight from the loft needs careful tension and boom angle to avoid binding. But sails are not made of steel. They stretch, they bag, and they get creased by gusts and years of use. One small fold, one crease in the dacron as it feeds into the slot, changes everything. The diameter of the roll does not just increase a little, it doubles at the point of the crease. That means the sail, instead of rolling up like a smooth cylinder, forms a lumpy spiral. The doubled diameter pushes hard against the inside wall of the mast. The gap that seemed generous at the dock now becomes a choke point. The friction skyrockets. Imagine the process with a caliper. Measure the mandrel at its smoothest, maybe 50 millimeters. Add a single crease, and suddenly you are at 100 millimeters. That is not a minor change. The torque needed to turn. The mandrel goes up by a factor of 4 because torque increases with the square of the radius. The winch or motor does not care about convenience, it cares about physics. When the roll hits the wall, the system tries to force the sail through anyway. The result is not a gentle stop, but a hard mechanical bind, cloth jammed tight between metal and metal, the beginning of a deadlock. This is the root of the jam. A system built on the fantasy of perfect geometry is sabotaged by the reality of soft cloth and tight tolerances. The mandrel, the slot, and the crease are 3 parts that lead to an inevitable failure. The next escalation comes when friction takes over, and the fight shifts from geometry to brute force. Friction is quiet at first. It starts as a whisper, barely enough to slow the roll of a new sail on a calm day. But the ocean is not a laboratory. Sails age. Salt crystals grind into the fibers, stiffening the cloth. UV rays bake the dacron until it loses its memory and refuses to flatten out. Every hour in the sun, every splash of seawater adds another layer of resistance. What was once a smooth surface becomes sandpaper. Now imagine the system under stress. The wind is up, the boat is moving, and the sail is no longer fresh from the loft. The friction inside the mast does not just add up, it multiplies. A crease here, a patch of dried salt there, and the torque required to turn the mandrel skyrockets. The electric winch, that $5,000 piece of convenience, starts to labor. The whine rises in pitch as the load increases. Bearings heat up. The gearbox casing grows warm to the touch, then hot. A thermal camera would show a bright white core where the motor is working overtime, fighting a battle it cannot win. There is no warning light, no safety cutoff. The winch pulls harder, dumping more current into the motor, trying to muscle the sail through a jam that is only getting tighter. The torque curve spikes. What used to take 10 Newton meters now demands 40 Newton meters, then 80 Newton meters. The motor windings heat up past 80 degrees Celsius, then 100 degrees Celsius. Inside, the insulation starts to break down. The next sound is not a whine, but a dull, final click. The system stalls. Power is gone, but the sail is still stuck. Friction has done its work. The sail is welded in place by nothing more than age, salt, and the limits of physics. The $5,000 gearbox is now just dead weight in the mast, radiating heat into the darkness. All that is left is cloth jammed inside metal and a boat one step closer to disaster. Gravity never needed a motor. Friction always wins in the end. A sail's true power lives at its edges. The roach, the gentle outward curve along the sail's trailing edge, generates lift, turning wind into forward motion. Remove it, and you strip away the engine that drives the boat. In-mast furling systems demand a compromise: no roach, no horizontal battens, just a flat triangle of cloth that can roll up without binding. What is left is a sail that fits inside a metal tube but leaves a hole in your performance. Put two boats side by side in 10 knots of breeze, one with a slab reefed main, full roach and battens, the other with an in-mast furling sail. The difference is not subtle. The slab reefed boat heels, accelerates, and drives forward on a cushion of lift. The in-mast boat tips over sooner, slides sideways, and struggles to keep pace. The numbers bear it out: up to 15% less sail area, sometimes more. That is the difference between gliding through a lull and reaching for the ignition key. Aerodynamics is not just theory, it is what gets you home when the wind drops. Every square foot lost to convenience is a square foot you will pay for in diesel. The roach penalty is not just a line on a sailmaker's invoice, it is a tax on every mile, every passage, every day you spend chasing the horizon. When the sails stop pulling, the engine takes over. That is the reality hidden behind every in-mast brochure. You lose sail area, you lose lift, and suddenly you are reaching for the ignition key in winds where a slab-reefed boat would still be gliding. The math is simple. Less canvas means more diesel. Over a week's passage, that means dozens of extra hours with the engine running, burning through fuel, shaking the hull, and killing any illusion of silent cruising. For every mile lost to a flat, underpowered main, you pay at the pump. The cost is not just measured in dollars, it is measured in reliability. Run the engine hard enough, long enough, and you are stacking up maintenance bills that never show up in the sales pitch. Ask a broker about this, and the answer is always the same. Most owners just want to get there. They do not care about a knot or two. That is not a slip, that is the business model. Sell convenience, and when performance drops, just tell the buyer to run the Yanmar. The risk is simple. Every hour the engine runs is an hour you are not prepared for what the ocean throws next. When the wind comes up and the sail jams, you are left with a system that cannot sail and a tank that is running down. The real price of convenience is not listed on the spec sheet. It is paid out in fuel, in repairs, and in the creeping certainty that you bought the wrong kind of safe. There is a moment when the options run out. The sail is jammed, the wind is howling, and the rig is groaning under loads it was never meant to hold. You can feel the pressure in every shudder of the mast, the force climbing with every gust, threatening to rip the rig apart. The mainsail, half furled and flapping, acts like a lever, multiplying the strain on every bolt and shroud. At 40 knots, the difference between control and catastrophe is measured in seconds. You try every trick, easing lines, changing course, praying for a miracle. Nothing moves. The cloth is wedged so tight inside the mast that even the electric winch, the $5,000 insurance policy, has given up. The only thing left is brute force. That is when the knife comes out. Not as a tool, but as a last resort. You crawl forward, harness clipped in, hands shaking from cold and fear. The sail is snapping so hard it could break a wrist. There is no time to hesitate. You slash through Dacron, each cut a $1,000 decision. 10 feet, 20 feet, until the wind tears the sail free, leaving scraps whipping in the storm. Later, when the storm passes, the surveyor hands you an invoice. $10,000 for a new mainsail. No negotiation, no warranty, just a bill for the price of trusting convenience over physics. The only thing you saved was the rig, and maybe your life. There is a way out of the trap. You do not need to gamble on a system that can turn deadly when it jams. The solution is simple, mechanical, and has worked for decades: gravity. A slab-reefed mainsail dropped onto the boom never asks you to fight friction or trust a button. You let go of the halyard and the sail comes down every time. That is the fail-safe built into the laws of physics, not the sales pitch. For those who want convenience without the risk, there is the stack pack. It is a canvas cradle that sits on the boom, paired with lazy jacks, webs of line that guide the sail down in a controlled heap. No wrestling, no panic. The whole system costs anywhere from $3,000 to $10,000 to retrofit, depending on sail size and hardware. It is a one-time investment that buys peace of mind every time the wind picks up. If you are buying a boat, look for a stack pack or lazy jacks on the boom. Open the mast and check for a slot. If you see one, factor in the cost of removing it. At survey, demand to see the mandrel and the furling line. Insist on a sea trial in real wind. Do not let a broker's demo in flat water decide your safety offshore. The ocean rewards simplicity and punishes shortcuts. Choose gravity. Choose what works when nothing else does. Right now, thousands of new cruisers trust friction and motors over gravity, betting safety on a system the industry knows can jam. As global yacht sales surge, these engineered risks multiply offshore. The ocean doesn't care about convenience or marketing, it punishes weak design. In sailing, physics always wins, so choose the system that fails safe, not deadly. Survival isn't nostalgia, it is non-negotiable. Share your thoughts below.